It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, happy December, and welcome to another episode of The Oil Stream, presented to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen as part of the Nielsen Media Cool Bet Network. When it's below minus 30 with the wind chill, nothing says order in like a Popeye's chicken sandwich. DoorDash, skip the dishes, Uber Eats, get it from any of the near 24 locations that they have, and that'll warm you up. Getting some of that good chicken in your belly will leave you feeling a lot better, won't it, Tommy?
Oh, it absolutely will. Dusty Nielsen, it absolutely will. Nothing says the Christmas season like a delicious Popeye's chicken sandwich with some nugs and mac and cheese on the side. Thank you.
Put a nice bag of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen chicken. Leave it out for Santa this year. Do that. Santa would love that.
Yeah,
Santa would love. Forget the cookies. Get Santa a Popeye's chicken sandwich. I think that would be great. Of course, now open at West Edmonton Mall. Been open there for a few months now. All right, Tommy, we've got lots to get to. We'll get to your Boston Pizza Appetizer a little bit later on. Inside the numbers, obviously, for Cool Bet coming your way. But let's start with that game last night. I never mentioned Cool Bet. I didn't have a good read on the Oilers from a betting perspective so far this year, but last night was really good. I had a Buffalo Bills, Minnesota Wild regulation moneyline parlay. Like you saw that one coming from quite a distance. And Tommy, I was not, even when they scored early, I was just like, I don't care. They're still not winning this hockey game.
No.
And Minnesota got it done. And part of me goes, you can't blame them. It's a quick turnaround. And then part of me goes, it's pretty sad that I also knew they were going to lose that game. Surprises, go out and gut one out. Have your goalie steal one. Play tight defense as a team. I just saw that one coming, and I guess we can just write it off, toss it away, and move on because it seemed like one of the schedule losses that everybody talks about. But, I mean, did anything surprise you from last night? Because nothing really surprised me.
No, good instincts on your part. I know with Inside the Numbers and Cool Bet and all that, and you and Huss on Lock Shop, you guys are usually pretty bang on. So that one had all the indicators like it was going to be a disaster. I suppose the first two leads that the Oilers had, or the only two leads that the Oilers had, were a pleasant surprise, but it was all smoke and mirrors. They
had five shots. They had five shots, 2 goals.
I'm watching that 10 minutes in, and I'm like, they don't have any jam at all. And I know that they didn't want to use the travel excuse. McDavid kind of talked about how the schedule's been funky this season. Yeah, it has been, but there's 32 teams in the National Hockey League. All 32 teams at some point in, a span of 5 years or whatever, are going to get a crappy schedule. It just happens. Arena availabilities, this, that, and the other. The scheduled loss thing was a theme that popped up a lot on the post-game show. We went surprisingly long considering how bland that game was. I mean, there was a lot of hate for Jack Campbell, which we're going to get into obviously in a little bit here. But yeah, all of that was lining up for a disaster. If Edmonton even salvaged a point out of that game, it would have been a minor miracle. They just slowed pucks. They really didn't engage in battles. They were reaching a lot. They were sloppy in their own zone again. I mean, they couldn't make a 5-foot pass to save their lives at times. And sometimes they made a 5-foot pass to just kill themselves on a couple of those goals that they allowed, especially off the faceoffs. A bad night in Minnesota. They continue to lose to the Wild. That's 7 in a row now. And I think they're 2-9 in the last 11 against Mini. So no bueno. They get them 2 more times in the next 10 days here.
Which is, I'm thinking there'll be a split there. I don't think Minnesota's going to beat them 3 times. I'm not sure Edmonton beats that team on back-to-back nights either. Last night's game was one of those situations. Comments are fired up today. If you're watching on YouTube, comment. If you're watching on Twitter, obviously comment as well. Bfonts3 says, I've never seen a market roll out the schedule loss story so hard pregame. Every team does this.
I hate that term. It's a loser loss? Way of thinking. Yeah, it's stupid.
Yeah, but it's also it's a thing. It's a thing. They played 3 and 4. They got in early the night before. It might be a shitty term. I agree with you on the term.
Yeah.
But it's a thing. I mean,
it is.
I did not expect. I don't know if anybody would have expected the Oilers to win that game. I would have been shocked if the Oilers won that game last night. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's in addition, like the schedule loss is something that you can look at in any markets. The reason I thought Minnesota was going to win that game last night is because the Oilers had won 3 in a row, and they hadn't played well in those 3 games. Like, they'd had good spurts in those games that won them those games. But they hadn't – it's not like all of a sudden, Tommy, we're sitting here Tuesday night at Boston Pizza, and thanks to Roger and everybody at Boston Pizza on Calgary Trail. Very fun time. Thanks for that smoked ham and chicken stromboli sandwich. It was delicious. But it's not like we're sitting there going, wow, like the Oilers have really figured it out. That's not what this 3-game heater was, man.
No, they kind of patched it together basically, and they stole a couple of games. You're right. There's not a lot to be like feeling very confident about this team's game outside of the power play, which even had a tough spell recently as well. PK sucks. The goaltending has been spotty. I mean, Stuart Skinner's been the bright spot, but even he's had some moments where you're like, wish you would have had that one, but you're getting nothing from Jack Campbell right now, even though miraculously he's 7-6. And so it's just one of those ones with all the injuries mounting. You're like, well, I guess you can hope that they get through it. But you're right. It was leading up to a game where you're like, I'm not surprised that team lost.
Yeah.
But it's just me, when I hear scheduled loss, I'm like, that's not something you and I would bring up to players or the coaching staff because they would snap on us and be like, what the hell is that? So I guess that's where I kind of look at it like, oh, that's such a loser mentality type of term. But when people bring it up and the reason why, it totally makes sense. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule loss is essentially, you say, oh, they're excuses. But that's what excuses are, man. Like, when you play 3 and 4, when it's a quick turnaround, the game before ended, 19 hours before this one?
Yeah.
I mean, every team has them. Every team has them. It's just how. Yeah. And now, if you were going to get that, now, some teams win those. Teams that are defensively responsible win those. And sometimes you just need a goalie to step up and have the back of your tired team that's playing in a short turnaround on back-to-back nights. They did not have that last night.
No.
They pretty much have not had that with Jack Campbell, with the exception of 1 or 2 games here or there.
Yes.
Tommy, they've got 14 games left in the month of December. Pretty much every second night, a couple of back-to-backs in there. How many more times do you fit Skinner in the rest of this month? Or not Skinner, Campbell. How are you supposed to manage Campbell moving forward? Is it just a straight up, hey, man, you can play Arizona and you can play Anaheim, but we got to run Skinner the rest of the way?
I think the balance shifts to Stuart Skinner, and you test how he can do. I feel like they're still kind of insulating Stuart Skinner a little bit, but you're to the point now where it's like, can you really trust Jack Campbell? Pretty sure the answer is no. And until he figures it out by whatever starts he does get this month, if he actually shows you something and makes big saves and doesn't let in crappy goals like he did last night, like he has pretty much for the entirety of the regular season, until he does that, I think Stuart Skinner is the guy you lean on a little bit more. But, people were suggesting last night on the postgame show, get Calvin Pickard up here. He's a better option than Stuart Skinner right now. But we had Ryan Holt on, the play-by-play voice of the Condors, when he was in town last week or earlier this week. Yeah. And Holtby even said Pickard's banged up. Like, they've had to lean on Olivier Rodrigue down in Baco. So that's not even an option right now. And I think you give Campbell spot duty until he actually shows you something. Otherwise, you just got to go with Skinner because you still need to win games. You can't go into a funk here. And unfortunately, they rattled off 3 in a row before last night's dud. But yeah, we're to the point now where Jack Campbell, and he's got to figure it out. I know some people were bringing up Dustin Schwartz again. I don't think it's the goalie coach. I know that's an easy target. Jack Campbell's just been substandard, and he isn't the only one in the National Hockey League. I suppose I guess quasi defending him, but Markstrom has sucked. Cal Peterson was on waivers. He's making $5 million a year as well. There's been other Demko who's hurt now, has been crap. Yeah. Like, it's this up and down. And at some point you got to hope that Jack Campbell figures it out and he locks it in and he stops thinking about maybe his contract or the pressure and just goes out there and makes saves. He was 31-9-6 for a reason last year. And I mean, you need some semblance of that goalie that got all those wins the last couple seasons.
Yeah, because, I mean, if Jack Campbell doesn't figure it out and Stuart Skinner ain't that guy, Ken Holland is completely screwed the rest of the contracts for McDavid and Draisaitl. Like that's pretty big. Like this is very important, man.
And Dusty, Mike Smith is not coming back.
Well, I had people texting today legitimately being like, can they just take Mike Smith off LTIR, let him come in and yell at the defenseman a bit to get the team going? Like,
I love that. But like, I'm sure Mike Smith is in Arizona or Kelowna golfing and having drinks, sipping on cognac with that big brimmed hat that he wears. And Mikko Koskinen, somebody suggested that who knew the Oilers should have re-signed Mikko Koskinen. Well, no, that is never the answer or the solution.
I think I'd rather have Koskinen right now than Jack Campbell, though.
Oh,
true story.
Well,
true story.
Jack
With
Campbell,
what we've seen so far from Jack Campbell, I mean, Koskinen was better.
Mikko Koskinen with this defense and forward group, the way they're playing in front of Koskinen, I think would be equally as much of a disaster, if not worse.
Well, I think Koskinen had that group for a few years there. Campbell. Well, we'll get to the overall bigger picture here as well. But it's so crazy, Tommy, that the market, the fans, those of us in the media pretty much spent 2 years counting down Mike Smith and Koskinen's contracts to expire so you can finally fix the goaltending. And now we're sitting here on December 2nd going, man, if Skinner's not that guy, they're screwed between the pipes.
Well, we were basically saying that in January and December too, and they kept sending Skinner back down to the minors. So we're getting so many flashes of deja vu in the first 2 months of the season. It's kind of sad. All
right, well, let's tie this into inside the numbers for Cool Bet. Then we'll come back around to the Boston Pizza Appetizer in just a second. Stay cool, bet responsibly. If you're looking to bet on the Oilers, you can go do it at coolbet.com. They get the Habs on Saturday, and we'll get to this homestand they have coming up here as well in a second. This is the scary thing from an Oilers perspective. It doesn't look like you can play Jack Campbell very much here in the immediate future. So there you go, okay, we'll go to Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner's last 3 starts have also been sub 900 save percentage. And this was from Low Tide. Low Tide had a nice little article kind of recapping October compared to November. Yep. In October, Skinner's save percentage was 955. In the month of November, it was 893. So he's trending in the wrong direction here as well, Tommy. So how much can you reasonably put on Stuart Skinner when his numbers have been tailing off for the last 30 days? It's a very fascinating conundrum they find themselves in here.
Conundrum indeed. Maybe even a conundrum, Dusty Nielsen.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Whatever. Either one of those works. We make stuff up here and it sticks here on the Oil Stream. I think when it comes to that situation, and Tide is fantastic at looking at those numbers and the projections and all that. And it does not paint a rosy picture, but with Skinner, I think probably the best mindset, and it's hard to do. Probably this is what they're doing with him. But if you're a fan, you just go game by game, day by day, start with one, see if he can build it up, see if he can refine that form to get that save percentage above 900 day by day. Take it with step lightly and gingerly and all of that, because I think if you start projecting and looking down the road, that's where you could cross yourself up mentally and create a bunch of stress that's unneeded. So day by day is probably the right mantra to use with Stuart Skinner, and he's probably going to try to use that as well. And then unfortunately for some Oiler fans, you're going to get a dose of Jack Campbell here and there.
You'll get a little bit of Jack Campbell mixed in, and we'll continue that conversation. But it's inside the number for Cool Bet. Stay cool, bet responsibly at coolbet, coolbet.com. Oilers Habs, I kind of like the over in that game on Saturday, a 5 o'clock start here. I think that should be all right. You like the over too, Tommy? That should be a high score. Like Montreal's got that one line that's been really good so far. Edmonton's not locking anybody down ever. But I think they'll be able to score against Montreal, right? So that's got like 5-3 written all over it.
Yeah, Jake Allen had his one elite game of the year yesterday. Yeah. So I like the over. I'll take it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's get to your Boston Pizza Appetizer. Happy hour daily from 2 to 5, and then again from 9 until close. And I think we've already locked in our next live on location. Tuesday, December 20th, 6 p.m., Terwilliger Boston Pizza. I'm just waiting for the final confirmation, but that's what it looks like. Terwilliger BP's. I used to live over in Terwilliger. I used to go to that BP's all the time. So Terwilliger Boston Pizza, nice little lounge there just off to the left, and we'll be there 6 o'clock December 20th. Some of you might have that week off leading into Christmas. It'd be great to see you. Come on out and join us on Tuesday night, Boston Pizza.
I really like these BP's soirees, let's call them. They're a lot of fun. Even the afternoons were good, but there's that extra little magic in the air when you get in there in the evening, I think.
All right, so here's the question I have for you, Tommy.
Bring it on.
And we're looking at the goaltenders and Jack Campbell and then Stuart Skinner in November. It hasn't been great. But which of their defensemen would you say defends well? We talked about it 3-4 weeks ago. This team, defensively, inside their own blue line, is a train wreck. So as much as we want to harp on the goaltenders, I mean, we have to point out that, last night, the Sam Steele goal, it was a breakaway goal. Still hated the way Campbell played it, but I don't know what Nurse was doing over by the bench. Look, he was heading off, and he came back on.
Yeah, it was Bouchard. Bouchard was going off, I think. He got crossed
and then he turned, and Nurse came on.
And then they just blew by.
There's too many times. Nurse is on one knee trying to do something. Tyson Barrie defensively is no good. I'm not sure Bouchard is ready to take the next level defensively. Your best defensive defenseman technically is Cody Ceci, and Ceci hasn't been good the last few games here. You can't play Nurse and Barrie together. That's a train wreck. Who defends well? I know we want to put it on the goalies, and I think that's justified, but who defends well on this team?
Sometimes Brett Kulak, sometimes Cody Ceci.
And sometimes Darnell Nurse.
Yeah,
but you can't sometimes get by on sometimes.
Sadly, Tyson Barrie has not been the whipping boy when it comes to this team defensively, and I think that's pretty telling. He has been one of the guys that's quietly put together an okay season in his own zone. And this team, and I say that with this team, and I'll acknowledge it, has reached a whole new level of putrid play in its own zone. And that's including all 6-7 defensemen. And then you got to mix in the forwards because they have been zero help to the D-men all season long. And then the goalies, if it's not Stuart Skinner, Jack Campbell's only made saves here and there. They've reached, I think, Dallas Eakins era swarm defense level bad in their own zone this season. It is so laughable how weak they are in their own zone. Pucks get moved up to forwards. Forwards flub outlet passes or chips off the wall, and it gets turned over, and it goes back the other way. You get worn down and tired, and then you're dealing with chaos in front of your net, and then you've got defensemen who can't clear the front of the net, can't even lift a guy's stick, and your goalie's trying to make a third save in a row, and it's going in. Sometimes, again, mostly for Jack Campbell, the first shot's going in from a weird angle, or the second one off a bad bounce off the wall like that. Was it Eriksson X goal, which was absolutely terrible last night?
That was horrible on every level.
It's an absolute calamity in their own zone in every single game. Maybe you could discount the two St. Louis games, one they lost, one they won, where they kind of tightened it up. But, man, they are just a train wreck in their own zone. And like I said, a whole new level of putrid, Dallas Eakins era-esque, I think, this season.
It's early December. This team has still not gone back-to-back games allowing less than 3 goals.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to win hockey games?
They suck in their own zone.
Yeah. It's a major concern. And I mean, we heap it on the goaltending, and then you say, well, the defense, but it's the whole group. It's the whole group. It's as simple as that.
It's so bad. I don't know how many goals have come off of missed assignments on faceoffs. We saw a couple of them. I think the first 2 power plays that Minnie had, they had a combined 11 seconds of power play time, and they clicked on both of them. It was pathetic. I was watching that. I'm like, oh my God, he just went in the box, and 30 seconds later, he's going out of the box. Happened twice. They're so bad in their own zone, and I think we let the forwards off the hook too much. And I've tried my best to remind everyone that the forwards are just as culpable and as guilty as the defense are. And then yes, the goaltenders when it comes to the play in their own zone, because there's so many bad plays by the forwards that lead them to going back into defending and just scramble mode. And again, we could talk over and over and in cycles about the same crap night in, night out. Until they figure that out, they're going to have to run and gun for the rest of the season. It would drive me crazy if I was one of those coaches.
Pills04 is on the live chat on Twitter. It says, we sit here and talk about the lack of depth scoring up front, but they're a disaster in their own end. And I mean, Pills, I'll say, like, we haven't talked about depth scoring in quite some time. I mean, that's not the issue. Like, adding a bottom six forward is not the issue here to score goals. Like, that's not, they need to defend better. Here are the teams that have allowed more goals per game than the Oilers this year. The Ducks, brutal. Columbus, brutal. Vancouver has had a disaster of a season. The Buffalo Sabres have scored a bunch of goals, but they've only got 10 wins on the year. They allow 3.71 goals per game. Chicago purposely trying to lose. And then you've got the St. Louis Blues, which is kind of stunning to me. The Blues are allowing 3.65 goals per game as well, but that's mostly because Jordan Binnington is out there trying to run guys behind his own net because he's a psycho. So,
he is a psycho.
like, that's it. Like, all pretty much with the exception of maybe St. Louis, the rest of the teams behind the Oilers in goals allowed per game are shit. It's as simple as that.
How dare you use foul language to sum things up so perfectly?
It's pretty much the case. That's your Oil Stream Boston Pizza appetizer. And join us, looks like December 20th. Terwilliger Boston Pizza will be over in the lounge, 6 p.m. So on your way home from work or if you're off, pop by, have some dinner. I'll buy you a drink, and we can talk some Oilers. How's that sound? All right, Tommy, what's the homestand look like? Montreal Saturday. And I know people go, Montreal. Well, Montreal pretty much has the same record as the Oilers. So that might be what people in Montreal are saying right now as well. It's Montreal, it's Washington, it's Arizona. And it's Mini.
Yeah. All winnable games, all losable games, sadly, at this juncture in the season.
What do you think they do here? Can they go 3-1? Do they go 3-1?
Yeah, I think I honestly believe they're capable of running the table on this homestand. Now, I don't have a lot of faith that they will do that. They're capable, but I don't think they will. I think that they'll win 3 or go 2-1-1. I think 3 is something that I think they're going to buckle it down. I'm trying to stay positive here. I'm a positive person in general, so I think they get 3.
I think they get 2 for sure.
Okay.
Do they get a third one along the way? Yeah, I'll say they get 3 as well. They're only a 500 hockey team at home, though. They're 6-6 right now at home. So
I think they were sub 500 before they came back home briefly too.
Yeah. No, they were. They were 5-6 prior to that game that they almost let slip away. So yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see how it plays out. Very interesting. I don't think we're being homers by any stretch of imagination. I think 3-1. To be honest with you, they got to get 3-1. With who they got coming to town, they got to win 3 of these next 4 games, man. They have to.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. I was saying this to somebody not on the air last week. I'm like, isn't it crazy that this team is just full of drama and they can never make situations easy on themselves. And it's always something that pops up. It's never a dull moment. And it just perpetual craziness when it comes to this team.
It's been that way for 12 years since I've been here, buddy. I don't know what it was like before, but man, yeah, look, I'll say this. It's fun. It provides content. I mean, I don't know how good the Oil Stream would be if we came on every day and say, well, Oilers won 6-1 and they're 20-4 on the season. That would be getting everybody excited, but it doesn't provide us as much to talk about. So
and then we'd be talking about Bakersfield and the fourth line, who's the 13th forward and why they're not contributing enough. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of the Oil Stream. Huge shout out to our presenting sponsor at Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. If you're all bundled up at home and you don't want to go out, but you're still looking for something delicious, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, they will take care of you there. And we'll be back next week. We'll see what happens coming through the weekend. I might throw a couple Oil Stream and 5s up as well, depending on how things go against Montreal, and then obviously a game against Washington as well before our next episode. Tommy, you enjoy your weekend, buddy, and get us out of here.
All right. Thank you, Dusty. You too. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, smash that thumbs up button. Cheers to the weekend, everyone.
I can't believe you had that plan the whole time. See you later, buddy.